So this is the first time this is ever coming out of my mouth. So just let me explain what I'm saying here, and then you can see what you think. Mm-hmm. So this is my idea of relationships. We have a relationship to everything. We have relationships to food. We have relationship to family, to other humans, to your environment, your community. And there's 3 different ways that people are engaging these relationships, their relationships to objects or to the other, let's say. There's 3 different ways. You have the independent way, the codependent way, and the interdependent way. Let's start with the independent way. Independent, let's just look at the word independent. You're dependent on your inner guidance, your inner experience to shore up your alignment. So you automatically default to the soul to bring ease to you as a human being. You need no outside resource because you understand that you are the resource. You dwell in your eternal experience. That's what the soul is. And so in that eternal experience is unconditional love. So when you're operating on an independent basis, you're operating in unconditional love in this model that we're talking about in spirituality. So when you see independent, think autonomy, think sovereignty. Sovereignty meaning supreme or ultimate power. Okay, so that's independent. But then you have the codependent approach. The codependent approach is dependent on the outer experience to shore up alignment. So think
outside source.
The outside source, a food, a person, a drug, an experience is you're dependent upon something outside of you to shore up your alignment. So think co-pilot, because you're asleep at the wheel. The reason why you have a co-pilot is in case something happens to you at the wheel, being asleep at the wheel. So being asleep at your will.
Mm-hmm. Asleep at your will.
Will. Mm-hmm. So that's conditional love. And if we look at how this plays out, you go into conditional love, which would be a slave master approach, because because the outside influence is your master. If that trip doesn't work out like you needed it to work out, you're not aligned. If your wife isn't not nice to you today, you're not aligned. So you're enslaved. They're your master now, and
which you can attribute to a parent or
anything. It can be a drug. It can be a parent. It can be a food. It can be a car, a resource. It could be internet. It can be your phone.
Anything outside of independence.
Anything outside of being inside of yourself to shore up your alignment is codependency.
Right.
Then also, if we look at this a little bit closer, so we have we have 2 sides of the same coin. You have independent, which represents sovereignty, supreme or ultimate power, and you have codependency, which is the antithesis to that. And so just look at what does it mean for this to be the antithesis to it? What is the antithesis to sovereignty? Well, just look it up, and this lets you know the state that you're operating in codependency. You're last, you're inferior, you're minor, you're secondary, you're subordinate, you're limited, you're restrictive. Fewest, insignificant, non-essential
minimal
is what you are when you are not operating from the soul, when you're operating in the personality, in the story. Then finally, we have the interdependent relationship. An interdependent relationship is when you have 2 or more independent actors working together is basically what we're looking at, and which creates a synergy. What's synergy? Same energy, no separation, oneness. Okay. It's a magnification. It's synced energy. In exchange, it's a system of energy balance. It's a cipher of energy. If you've ever watched hip hop, when they're doing freestyle and they're standing in a circle, they're feeding off of each other's energy. They're ciphering that around, and that is what a interdependent relationship looks like. Interdependent relationships are unconditional love. Interdependent, you're entering in to the ultimate dependency, the gates of heaven. You're entering in that higher state because 1 + 1 = 3. And this is the ultimate relationship that we're looking for. You know, when you look at any system that's out there, you look at a business system, a household system, you look at a team, you look at anything like that, the ones that have the best chemistry or the best, interdependency, when they realize that they all bring equal amounts of energy to the whole, to support the whole.
Equal.
And there are no subordinate, and there's no anybody that's even more, everybody's the same. That's how that plays out. So that's what we got very loosely in terms of relationships.
So if someone came in and tried to rattle a cage, saying that you need your mother, or you need your water, or you need your, what are you going to say to that?
Who needs their mother?
Right.
Who needs water? On whom's behalf are you speaking?
I'm speaking on behalf of myself, being the devil's advocate here.
Tell me about yourself.
I am someone who needs my mother. I am someone who needs water. I am someone who needs food. We all do.
You're absolutely right. We all need food. We all need love from our mothers and everything like that. I don't think anybody's going to argue with that, but that's your story. Tell me about yourself. I'm great at a pregnant pause. This is... I can sit here all day.
No, I mean, I know the answer.
Yeah.
But I'm
that's
just
how
saying,
I would do that.
That's exactly what I'm trying to get out of you.
And that's why I
started. So let's go back
with
to the relationship
Okay.
page. Out of these three, which is the first one that you would take away?
Codependency.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an easy answer, right?
Sure.
Okay. But how do you get from codependent to independent? What is your idea of getting from codependent to independent? Because 99% of us are codependent.
It's a great question. See, the codependency comes from not understanding the substance that you're made of. And we have memory that goes way back. Did you know that you were in your grandmother's womb?
Absolutely. I know that.
Good. And so you also know that any emotional experiences that your grandmother was having, whether it was abusive or it was great, all that stuff was affecting you and your DNA and your structure in that egg.
Oh, really? So how does it pass down to me?
Well, because everything has a cellular memory. So every thought that's ever been thought still exists. This is where it gets good. Every thought that has ever been thought still exists. The cells in your body are called cells for a reason, because they lock in beliefs. And so where did those beliefs come from? They came from the seed that you were born from. That's how that was transmitted to you. So what I'm trying to say to you, Kami, is that you existed before those beliefs hit your cells. Therefore, you could not be those beliefs. Am you following?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So since we've established that you can't be your beliefs, then we can choose to create the beliefs that we want to play with now. And the way to do that is going back to lesson number 1, is really understanding like who you are in this universe.
But how do we get there?
Well, that's beautiful.
You're telling me what I could be.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to tell you anything, Kami. I want to let you experience it for yourself. So what we're going to do is we'll schedule time, and I'm going to take you through a full breathwork session, meditation, so you can join our class and you can see for yourself who you are and who you're not. And because nothing speaks more than a direct experience, that's the only thing I'm talking about. So,
and if I'm not willing to do those things, can I reach it?
Sure. Anything, there's many paths. This is just the path that I am familiar with. We know that throughout history that meditation in particular has been used for millions of years. at least hundreds of thousands of years. And we know that science backs what meditation does and effect that it has on the brain in terms of neuroplasticity. So at the very least, the reason why you would meditate is to be able to clear out some of those old patterns. Forget the spirituality. Just not suffer as much on the earth. But could you get there with just reading books? Sure. Could you get there going to church? Sure. Could you get there swimming? Could you get there drawing? Yes. Because really, enlightenment is ease. It's just being in a state of grace. Whatever puts you in that state of grace. All I'm saying is that with the practice, you're able to fill those gaps when you don't have the paintbrush, when you don't have the person you can listen to on YouTube. The breath is with you all the time, and it's free. So that's just my offering.
So, in one word, if you're going to describe, if you could describe the word independent in one word, other than the word independent.
Love. Because when you're in love, you have no lack.
But love for self.
You see yourself, you experience yourself as unconditional love.
You are love. That's what you're saying.
You are love.
You're not in love with yourself.
No, you
are love.
it. You are in the experience of it. And you realize that you can call on it when you want because it's your natural state. That is what unconditional love is. And so when you haven't experienced unconditional love, yes, you do need a battery that you need to hook up to. You do need mom in that case. You do need your job. You do need your kids. You do need a burger.
So you're saying that it requires codependency to get to independence?
No, I'm saying that this world is designed to wake us up to higher ways of living. The way this place is designed is for us to engage each other to find out what love is. The problem is that we're not getting the memo soon enough that it's not in the person you're talking to, that it's the person speaking. That's the difference. That's the difference. And can you get there with a book? Yes. Or we can just go back here, give me 15 minutes, and we can do it now.
If you're fully in it.
If you're fully in it, if this is a desire of yours.
If you're just entertaining, the idea, then it's not going to work for you.
No, it won't. You won't be
it's
intrigued.
It's not going to work for me.
Yeah, you won't be intrigued at all, and it'll be a waste of your time. And it's a sincerity in what you're wanting to do. The universe is operating off of, they're answering your sincere call. They're answering your devotion. We're already devoted to. We're devoted to beliefs already anyway. Mm-hmm. All this is saying is are those beliefs permanent? Are those beliefs you? And what would life be for you without them? And you won't know that until you have a direct experience. It'll just be education without it.
And how do you know that once you fully embody independent in its highest form, which to me sounds like literally the soul. Okay, how do you know, or how do you know that you can have an interdependent relationship with somebody?
Because that goes back to the lesson on vibration.
Or with anything.
With anything. Everything is on a vibrational scale. We're working in a range of light frequency, okay? And basically what that's saying is that, you've got some frequencies here, you got some frequencies there, and each one of these frequencies kind of represent an emotional state. So when you're in unconditional love, you're kind of at that top area of light frequency. So you can only experience things in unconditional love. So what do I mean by that? Well,
so you're saying when you're in an unconditional love state, you can only attract unconditional love, or you will no longer be attracted to things that don't operate in the same unconditional loving way as you.
You will see that you will objectively observe the lack of unconditional love in the other. You will maintain your frequency of unconditional love. That is unconditional love.
No matter who you're around.
That is unconditional love. And when you are there, the concept of codependency doesn't exist. The only reason why I can speak on codependency is because I'm out of it. I'm a specialist on codependency. But since I'm out of it, I understand where the blind spot was.
So questioning it would be fear.
Absolutely.
And fear is the lowest form of vibration.
Sure, because and that's okay because the codependency operates in the mind. It doesn't operate in the heart.
No, I'm talking about interdependency.
Oh, and to say, what was your question again?
My original question was, how do you know you're in interdependent relationship? Let's go ahead and say with somebody.
Okay, interdependent relationship with someone. Because of the flow of energy. Okay, and the lack of need.
Right.
And the satisfaction and the
so
kindness.
It's not even a question.
There is no question.
Because what you're saying is that's what you're going to attract anyway.
Yes, you're going to attract who you are. Now, in unconditional love, that doesn't mean that you're not going to attract challenging people because you still have challenging aspects. We still, there is no separation. So even though you are fundamentally not the me, the me is in you. And
so there's no point in even questioning whether you're there or not.
No.
Because questioning itself is fear.
Yes.
And therefore you're not.
But it's all about how you show up. Because if you're in unconditional love and you're experiencing outside of yourself an aspect of you that's not healed, you're able to heal it in that moment. But if you react to the lack of unconditional love in the other, then you will get another opportunity to swing that bat again in the future.
Okay. Pretty good.
Oh.
Anything else you want to touch on there?
No, I mean, I think this is big, especially like where we are, even with this war and stuff. I'm sure it's over oil or something, I don't know. But it's like we're dependent upon getting their shit, instead of, and I'm not saying this like rah-rah America, but instead of like an energy independence sort of a story where it's like, I can do this myself. I'm self-sustaining. And so that's that. You see it in everything, but the relationship. That's the other thing. It's like we hear, at least I heard relationship, and I automatically think romantic relationships. But we truly have a relationship to everything. Hell, if you're not in love, if you're not in some kind of a good vibrational state, this bed could collapse. Mm-hmm. We put so much faith in things. Like we put faith that somebody's going to stop at the stop sign because it's there. Mm-hmm. It's only frequency and agreement that's keeping that going. You know what I mean? So it really is important that we stay in those higher states, at least in contentment, at least in kindness, at least in tenderness, at least in being yielding, at least in satisfaction. We need to be in that range. When we start dipping down into fear and depression and skepticism and hate and dismay, despair, we're there, depression and all of that. Yeah, the universe is going to keep on showing up for you until you get the memo that it's time.
The same thing's going to happen over and over and over. You're going to keep having bouts of depression. You're going to keep having anxiety attacks. You're going to keep, wanting that piece of cake. You're going to keep all of that.
Because it's here to awaken you to who you are. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. I'm just prompting it in you. I'm just a catalyst. That's it. You are everything, but you got to take the journey.
So, if you're operating on a vibrational level and you're attracting those that are on the same level as you, but you live a life and everybody has family and everybody has friends and everybody has, but your vibration is you're raising your vibration. What happens to all the people around you that you love that aren't keeping up with your vibration?
Couple things. You look at it, and just from my own personal experience, but then you just look broadly, go do your research, you're gonna lose friends. you're going to lose family members. You're going to lose aspirations. You're going to lose your identity, as it were. You're going to lose a lot of the stuff that you love, a lot of foods that you used to eat, a lot of people you used to hang out with. There is going to be there's going to be a deconstructing of who you thought you were to make room for who you really are. And that is the spiritual path. And that's why our community is so important, because when you have a community of people that's on that same path, you feel supported, you feel safe to process those emotions, and you get to tools to learn how to do it and be independent, to be, in the self, to fully, experience yourself as the eternal nature that you are, and see how that magic works, and so that's basically it. And I know that I'm making that very plain and, kind of putting it out there just as basic, but that's pretty involved, And so going back to the meditation and the breath work and things, there are practices out here that will hold the ballast for you. While you go through and you're processing pain and trauma and you're trying to find your way on this path, the meditation is there to balance you, to show you the way. And the way is the breath, and the breath is spirit. You only want to follow spirit. You've been following mom all this time. Let's see what it's like to follow spirit, because that's your true identity. Like, the mom was only the ticket into this place. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, well, what do I do with the ticket? You have to take ownership of it now. And that's it. So that's what the meditation piece is good for. I don't know that it's a path for everyone, but it's rocky enough with the breath and with the meditation. If you want to go play golf, then play golf, but I'm saying that for generations, for eons, this practice has worked, and it's practical, and that's it.
Yeah, and I'm asking that question on just a basic level of your average Joe.
Yeah.
And how they fear losing the people that they love. Mm-hmm. And it is a fear.
Yeah, it's
your intention is good. When it comes to giving everyone the benefit of the doubt that they're going to be supportive in your mission, but obviously they're not going to be.
Right. And because
9 times out of 10 they're not.
Yeah, because
they can't embrace everything that you're doing or saying, or they don't even agree with half the things you say.
Right.
Half the things you say, you sound completely crazy. So I got to be okay with that.
Yeah.
I got to be okay with whoever falls out of my life.
Right.
Because the only focus, you're saying, is me. Yes. The only focus for all of us is me.
Everything radiates from you. Everything radiates for you. So therefore, you got to tend to the soil that bush is being grown in. So then when the fruit falls off the bush and it's ripe, it can be manifested. But if your soil is not with the proper nutrients and has the proper amount of wind and water in there, then it's not going to bear good fruit. And that is the definition of moving from codependency to independent. To understand that you are the fruit. Every experience is your fruit. It's just that you're creating from the meat, and it's causing you to have these feelings and these tastes and these likes. But when you start operating from the soul, from unconditional love, then you see, there is no needs there. You don't need an opinion to agree with you. You don't need someone to reach out to you to see how you're doing, because you're whole and you're complete. So in order to move out of codependency, there must be a big desire, a very sincere desire to be independent and to have interdependent relationships and to bring full value to you, to understand that the way with you transforming, you transform the whole world around you 100%. And we can't control what happens outside of us, but it's 100% our responsibility what happens inside of us. And most of the life that we're living right now is the creation is out of reaction. It's straight up reaction, So when you're operating in reaction, your fruit is reaction. And so you're creating a cycle that will compel you to react. But when you're in independence, when you're operating from the soul, you're operating in unconditional love, it has to unwind this so that you can live a life of unconditional love. Meaning you could have those same actors and those same problems, but you're seeing them through the eyes of God now. And so you have another set of resources and choices available that you can choose from that just simply weren't there because you weren't on the right frequency. It was always there. Everything's there. Everything's there, you know? But again, it's just a direct experience situation, because I can see if you went into meditation, the only way a person can argue that meditation doesn't work is either the person loves a busy mind, or they went into meditation with a quiet mind and it became busy. But actually, meditation does the exact opposite. You have a person that is suffering like I was, go and experience meditation, and the mind stopped. So which one is me? Which one is truthful? Which one should I be listening to? Well, it can't be the one that keeps changing. It can't be the one that gives you a different thought every second. It has to be the place in between the thoughts. Has to be, because it's always there, always available. And that right there, that's self-realization in itself right there. Now then it's like, how can you hold the note? That's the practice. To be able to hold the note, even in the most intense situations. Can you stand with your face to the wind and be and know that I am God? Can you do that? That's why.
So if someone were to argue that the thoughts themselves are just as constant as no thought.
You're here because of that, right? Is that what you're saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the only way to understand what it's like to be in no thought is to engage practices that get you there. Because the practices that you've been doing for your whole life has gotten you a busy mind. Womanizing, stealing, robbing, whatever you're doing, being dishonest, lying to your spouse, all these things, greed, envy, lust, all the 7 sins, all of that is why your mind is busy. It's polluted with the matrix. It's polluted with like old memories that aren't processed. You know, it's polluted with trauma and what your mom told you that wasn't true and all the confusion that you grew up in. Okay? And so in order to step out of that, there are tools that you can use with practice to be able to actually witness and observe those thoughts. So that brings up a whole nother thing. Like, so if there's a way of shifting to witnessing all of those thoughts and traumas, again, could you be the thought or the trauma? But you'd have to experience it for yourself to even know what I'm talking about, or else it's just words on a page coming out, just words coming out of my mouth. You know, so
that's why this is really hard to explain to people.
Yeah, but I think what is explaining it is my field. Like, they feel me. The words are inconsequential. It's just, that's entertainment. It's actually experiencing me, like my energetic field. Because I have to be in a certain energetic field for the words to even come. And that's what's compelling. It's not the words. Because Source has no words. It's a radiance. It's a state of being. It's the life-giving force. Okay? And when we harness...
So would you agree that those words, those thoughts, that busy mind is the ego?
Yes, it is. Yeah, we can call that the ego. We can call that the ego, the personality, the lower self. You know, we could call it whatever. It's that world-facing view of you. It's the opinions that people have of you. It's the opinions you have of people. It's all of your experiences, all of the impressions, all of the dinners, all of the sex. Everything is you. That's your personality. That's what you're calling you. And yet...
But that's not you.
Because you were you before all of those experiences.
So really all it is a realization that you're operating in the ego and you need to be operating in the soul.
Yes. Or you can even say that you need to come into balance with the soul. Because when you come into balance with the soul, the ego becomes like just a patina over truth.
But realization of that knowing by itself is half the battle.
Yes. That's 90% of the battle.
Exactly. I was willing to say more too, but
that's 90% of the battle. Is just understanding, like, you're a Rolls Royce that's the first green Rolls Royce to come off of the handmade assembly line, and you think you're a Ford Escort. You don't know your capabilities. You don't know how state of the art you are. And so I'm handing you your owner's manual, and it don't say Escort on it. It says Wraith. and I know that's hard to believe, but wait till you get in, wait till you really get into that thing and drive it right. You'll see what it's capable of.
Take it down the right path.
Take it down the right path. Treat it with respect. Honor it. Keep the oil changed. You know what I mean? Keep the right fuel in it. And everything is everything. But all this time, you thought you were a Ford Escort. That's just fundamentally what we're talking about. And it blew my mind, too, when I found out. It blew my mind, too. And it's like, I just became eagerly trying to know more, But that's a personal journey, You got to decide if that's something that's even worth exploring.
Yeah, it's not an easy journey.
None of these journeys are easy. That's the thing. Like in my life, even though everything looked good on the surface and I was doing okay by the world standards, I didn't feel successful. I didn't feel like I'm like the man and shit like I thought that was going to make me feel. And yes,
people that do, and feel the need for change or an awakening, if we're going to put a label on it.
Sure. But would you have wanted the tools to be able to handle that situation with your son without the outburst this time? Would you want the tool to be patient with your wife? Would you want the tool to be understanding to your employees? Would you want the tool to be able to love yourself? You can take this as subtle as you want, or you can take this as practical as you want. But really, at the practical level, it's just about being a great human being and not having too many unwanted sensations in the nervous system. Mm-hmm. And then at the deeper level, it's about sovereignty. It's about grace. It's about love, period. So you decide on that spectrum where you want to be. But without it, life is going to be hard. There will be challenges. With it, life is going to have challenges. How we view and handle those challenges is the difference. That is where quality of life lies.
So let's say I do decide to embody a spiritual life, and most of the time I'm operating from the soul. But every now and then I just want to go indulge in the ego.
Sure.
How's that work?
We actually do, on this path, you're going to oscillate. You don't just flip a switch and then it's all of a sudden you're just walking on water. It don't work. For everyone.
So it's not like they told us in church, it's like, you follow these directions and you're going to get to heaven.
No, because the kingdom of heaven is within you. And this isn't about religion. This is about where.
No, I'm using that
I'm saying
an example.
I'm talking to you as a person, not Candy.
It doesn't need to be so rigid, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but
it's okay to fall off the bike.
Absolutely. Like on this path in the very beginning, you will oscillate back and forth. That's just how it is, because you're learning. Again, like you were just saying, it's like you're riding a bike, but then you fall off the bike because you drop back into the ego and you use a cuss word in the wrong sentence, but then you don't beat yourself up now because you got enough self-awareness to know, like, oh, I just slipped back into the lower self. And you get up and you dust yourself off and you get back on the bike. And you start to understand what grace is through having grace with yourself. Real simple. And maybe it's a couple of years that you keep on, outbursts and whatever it is that your ego is capable of doing. But at some point, the pain that you're causing will be greater than the love that you're feeling. And that's when you change.
And you have an opportunity to learn a new lesson.
Absolutely, So it's a process, and it's a lifelong process. And
it's not like one day I'm going to decide to be spiritual and I'm an awakening and I'm perfect and I can't talk to, so-and-so anymore because they're heathens or whatever, I guess what I'm trying to say is most of us think it's so cut and dry. It has to be one or the other.
Right.
And it really doesn't have to be.
Everyone has a path. There are people that are very influential yogis and mystics that literally woke up and they were enlightened. There wasn't no working for it. It just, the switch flipped. We're working off of so many timelines and past lives and different things that are happening to us that's making life for us right now, that's on their path. You won't know what's on your path until you step on it. So instead of projecting like what to expect, just step on it and see what it has for you, and it'll and the wonders that are there, and because your path is designed for you, but it's designed to take you higher, not take you lower.
It's a good conversation, Ken.
Good conversation.
I like it.